Grief changes the way you see the world. 6 months after my wife's funeral, I still reached for my phone to text her when something small happened, like when the coffee maker broke, or when our favorite song came on the radio. Then reality would settle back in like a weight on my chest. She was gone. Cancer doesn't care how much you love someone. That Saturday, I went grocery shopping because the fridge was empty and the house was too quiet. I stood in the cereal aisle longer than I needed to, staring at boxes she used to complain about. And then I saw her. Not a memory. Not a reflection. Her. Same brown coat. Same walk. Same slight limp in her left leg from the accident years ago. My heart stopped. I told myself it was grief. That my brain was desperate. People see lost loved ones all the time, right? But then she reached for a can on the shelf. And I saw her hands. The scar on her knuckle from when we were young and stupid and fixing the sink together. My vision blurred. I whispered her name. She didn't turn around. She paid. She walked out. And without thinking, without breathing, I followed her. I stayed far enough back to pretend I was just another stranger. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped my keys. She got into a car I didn't recognize. And I did something I never thought I would do. I followed her home. Because grief might play tricks. But sometimes, the impossible walks right past you and asks to be noticed. I followed her for 15 minutes. Every red light felt like a test. Every turn made my chest tighter. I kept expecting her to glance in the rearview mirror and see me, but she never did. She drove with confidence, like this route was familiar. She turned into a quiet neighborhood on the edge of town. Neat lawns. Wind chimes on porches. The kind of place people settle when they want peace. She pulled into the driveway of a small blue house. Not ours. I parked a block away and sat there, shaking, trying to understand what I was seeing. She got out of the car, keys in hand, and walked up the steps like she belonged there. A man opened the door. Tall. Older than me. His hair was gray at the temples. He smiled at her. Not politely. Intimately. She stepped inside without hesitation. I felt like the ground dropped out from under me. My wife had died in a hospital room with my hand in hers. I'd watched the monitor go flat. I'd signed papers. Planned a funeral. So why was she standing in another man's doorway? I stayed in the car for nearly an hour. Long enough to convince myself this was some elaborate hallucination. Then the porch light came on. She stepped outside again, carrying trash. I got out of my car. "Emily," I said, my voice breaking as I crossed the street. She turned. And looked straight through me. "I'm sorry," she said, stepping back. "Do I know you?" My knees nearly buckled. "No," I whispered. "No, you do." She shook her head, fear creeping into her eyes. "Sir, I think you've made a mistake." The door opened behind her. The man stepped out, his arm protective. "Everything okay?" he asked her. She nodded slowly, still watching me like I was a stranger. And in that moment, I realized something worse than death had happened. She was alive. But whatever life she was living now didn't include me. The man didn't threaten me. That somehow made it worse. He just stood there, calm but firm, like someone used to handling fragile situations. "She's had a long recovery," he said quietly. "You need to leave." Recovery. That word echoed in my head as I walked back to my car. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I was too busy trying not to fall apart in the street. I drove home numb. The next morning, I did the only thing that made sense. I went to the hospital. The same one where my wife had died. I asked for her records. At first, they refused. Privacy laws. Apologies. Polite walls. But grief has a way of sharpening your voice. I told them my name. Her name. The date she was admitted. Something shifted. A nurse excused herself. A supervisor appeared. They whispered just out of earshot. Then they handed me a folder. Inside was a different ending to the story I thought I knew. Emily never died. She flatlined briefly during surgery, but was resuscitated. Severe oxygen deprivation caused brain injury. Memory loss. Confusion. While I was sitting in the waiting room being told to prepare for the worst, someone else had made decisions. Her estranged sister. Listed as emergency contact. She requested transfer to a long-term care facility out of state, the supervisor said. And later. Guardianship. My hands shook as I read the signatures. They never called me. By the time I came back the next day, after collapsing in my car and being sent home, they told me she was gone. Legally. Not dead. Just removed. The man from the house wasn't her lover. He was her caregiver. Her legal guardian. And according to the file, Emily believed her husband had died in the accident years ago. I closed the folder slowly. 6 months ago, I buried my wife. Yesterday, I found her alive. And now I had to decide. Do I fight to bring her back? Or protect the fragile piece she'd been forced to boo? I found her sister 2 days later. Same city. Same last name. Different truth. She lived in a gated complex with cameras at every corner, the kind of place people choose when they don't want surprises. When she opened the door and saw me, her face went pale, not shocked, but caught. "You weren't supposed to find her," she said quietly. That told me everything. Inside, she didn't offer me a seat. She crossed her arms, just like Emily used to when she was scared. She needed stability, her sister said. "You were falling apart." "My wife was dying," I replied. "That's not the same thing." "She didn't recognize you," she snapped. "She woke up confused, terrified. She asked for Mom. For people from before you. The doctors said familiar names could re-traumatize her." "So you erased me?" My voice broke. "You told me she was dead." Tears finally filled her eyes, but they didn't change her answer. "I did what I thought was best." Best. That word again. The same word used to justify every betrayal dressed up as love. "She thinks her husband died years ago," her sister continued. "If you show up claiming to be him, you could destroy the progress she's made." I thought of the woman at the Blue House. The fear in her eyes when she saw me. The calm life she seemed to be living now. "Can I see her medical updates?" I asked. She hesitated. Then handed me a thin stack of papers. Emily was improving. Slowly. Building new memories. Laughing again. But nowhere was my name. As I stood to leave, her sister said softly, "Sometimes loving someone means letting them go. Even when they're still alive." I walked out into the afternoon sun feeling older than I ever had. Because now the choice was real. Fight for my wife's memory. Or accept that she had survived. Without me. And either way, someone was going to lose. I waited a week before I saw her again. Not because I was afraid, but because I needed to be honest with myself. I parked across the street from the Blue House just before sunset. The same porch light. The same quiet street. Ordinary. Peaceful. Emily stepped outside with a small watering can. She hummed softly, a tune I recognized immediately. One she used to sing while cooking dinner, back when our life was loud and unfinished. I didn't call her name this time. I walked up slowly. "Hi," I said gently. She turned, cautious but calm. "Hello. I'm sorry for the other day," I said. "I startled you." She relaxed a little. "That's okay." We stood there in the orange light, strangers sharing air that used to belong to us both. "I used to know someone who looked like you," I said. She was kind. Strong. Loved the rain. Emily smiled. "That sounds like a good person." "She was," I replied. "She still is." She thanked me. Wished me well. And went back inside. That was it. No reunion. No miracle memory. No movie ending. But something strange happened as I walked away. The ache softened. Because love isn't proven by possession. It isn't proven by being remembered. Sometimes, love is proven by restraint. By choosing not to reopen wounds just to soothe your own. I still visit her grave. Not because she's there, but because the man I was with her is. 6 months ago, I buried my wife. Today, I carry her with me. Alive. Safe. At peace. And the hardest lesson grief ever taught me is this. You can lose someone twice. And still love them both times.